I don't know why everyone was complaining about Saints Row last summer. This game looks like a lot of fun to me. Saints Row is a series I'm fairly new to. It wasn't until the lockdowns during 2020 that I actually played the series for the first time. I started with Saints Row the Third, which I really enjoyed. The plot was dumb, but it was a lot of fun. The mayhem and gameplay kept me engaged, and I really liked the new characters it introduced. Except the autotune guy. That got old really fast. Then I followed it up with 4, which I got bored with and gave up halfway through. Honestly, its heavy focus on aliens and its superpowers really took me out of it, and it didn't really feel all that different from 3. Felt more like a DLC if anything. Then I played 2, which I also really enjoyed, and I can understand why a good chunk of the fanbase consider it the best in the series. And no, I haven't played the reboot, but I watched enough videos on it to see it's definitely ass. Maybe I'll pick it up if it ends up being the Epic Game Store free game of the week. This only left one game to play, the original, which I found out is stuck on the Xbox 360 for some stupid reason. So I had no way of playing it until now, when I bought an Xbox Series X. Though I also wanted it for other games stuck on Generation 7 consoles, like Red Dead Redemption. And yeah, I know I probably could have emulated it on Xenia, but I couldn't get it working right. Not quite sure if it was my computer that's the problem, or me. Most likely me. But despite never playing the original game, I do remember commercials and ads for it, more or less advertising it as the next-gen GTA game. Remember, this game came out in 2006, beating GTA 4 to next-gen consoles by 2 years. So I could see how this game would scratch that crime sandbox itch, especially if you didn't own a PSP to play the portable GTA games. And while it did get some good reviews, it doesn't seem like a lot of fans talk about it. Is it a hidden gem? Or just another forgettable GTA clone in an ocean of other clones? Let's dive in and find out. When you start the game, you're greeted with a character creation screen. And while not as robust as future games, it's still not half bad. I'll be honest, when it comes to deep character creation, I don't spend a lot of time trying to make a character. Usually I'll make a guy who's anime as fuck, or just a hot chick whose ass I can stare at through my playthrough. I avoid making characters that look like me as it feels kind of boring, mainly because I look like every other retro gaming YouTuber you've seen. Side note, that's kind of why I changed my avatar from looking like me to having a TV for a head. Just helps stand out a little more, you know? But I understand the appeal of being able to create your own character. For one, GTA didn't do this until GTA Online, and it lets you feel like you're in control and the one running the show, instead of following someone else's story. And if you do end up regretting what your character looks like, there are plastic surgeons in game that'll let you change your appearance. Though you are only limited to making a male character.
Watches! I got watches here! Yo, hey man, this shit'll cost you $600 in the store. Oh, whatever. Watches!
Hey, baby.
I can show you a good time.
Oh, hell no!
Man, fuck the rollers.
LeVar, you gonna let those bitches disrespect us?
Shit, what you think?
Once your character is ready, the story kicks off with him wandering the streets of Stillwater, before he's caught in a 3-way gang war. Fought between Team Red, Los Carnales, Team Yellow, the Vice Kings, and finally, Team Blue, the Westside Rollerz. Your character is about to become just another statistic before he's saved out of nowhere by Team Purple, the 3rd Street Saints.
You okay, player?
Julius, let's move.
That don't look so bad. You should be fine. That's Troy. You can thank him later.
Hey.
Specifically, its leader Julius and one of his top men, Troy. I'm sure most fans know this already, but Julius is voiced by Keith David, who you might know as Vice President Keith David in Saints Row 4, or the President in Rick and Morty, or as Spawn in Spawn the Animated Series. I actually rewatched that recently and forgot how insanely good it was. Felt like an M-rated take on Batman the Animated Series, with its dark visuals and mature storytelling. Though its 3rd season was garbage. Its storyline was purely rushed and made no sense. You could tell they knew they were getting cancelled, but didn't have enough time to write a coherent story to end the series. Troy, meanwhile, is voiced by our old friend Michael Rappaport, who was Joey Leone in GTA 3. Julius will offer you the chance to be part of the solution instead of another victim, inviting you to join the Saints. And after getting hopped in, you're officially part of Team Purple. Now it's up to you and the rest of the Saints to take down the other 3 gangs and take complete control of Stillwater. Gameplay is pretty similar to Grand Theft Auto. The driving, for instance, isn't very different from San Andreas, with cars that accelerate fast, handle tight turns well, with some weighty physics to them. So the cars don't crash into each other and fly around like Matchbox cars. Well, most of the time anyhow. They also feel more durable, as cars can take a serious amount of punishment before you need to bail before they explode. Car customization is also greatly expanded compared to San Andreas, as you can hit up your local rim jobs to both fix your ride and completely trick it out, with different colors, patterns, rims, spoilers, and more. And it fixes that issue I brought up in previous GTA videos, where I would unlock a new ride but be terrified of losing it, so I just leave it in my garage never to use again, as any car parked in your garage is permanently saved, allowing you to take it out whenever you drop by your crib. The only trade-off is that it saves it in the exact condition it was when you last used it, meaning damage is transferred over if you didn't get it fixed. And if you destroy your car during gameplay, you have to pay $500 to get it out of your garage. That said, the game doesn't feature any bikes or flying vehicles, which is really disappointing, as the game's city, Stillwater, is pretty huge, and in addition to having a lot of tall buildings, feels like it was built for exploring by air. I know the game was buggy and had performance issues when it initially launched, so maybe trying to render the city while flying around it would have caused even more problems, but I don't see why they couldn't have included motorcycles. While the driving is similar, shooting is a different story, as the game lacks an auto lock-on, instead making use of free aim shooting, and it's a lot better than I was expecting. The aiming is nowhere near as sensitive as the free aiming in the PS2 GTA games, so I can aim my shots quickly and not worry about overshooting a target and missing. This does actually make combat more challenging, as I can't just use auto aim to trivialize firefights. That and some weapons don't have the best range or accuracy, so I have to get up close and personal to land my shots. Weapon variety is similar to Grand Theft Auto. Pistols, machine guns, shotguns, the usual stuff you can expect. Nothing particularly wacky or over the top like a dubstep gun or a giant dildo. Hitting up the weapon shop, pretty much everything is available right from the beginning, though you won't be able to afford the stronger stuff like assault rifles or rocket launchers till much later. Also, there isn't a universal ammo type for your separate weapon types. Instead, each weapon has its own ammo. That means if I'm using a submachine gun and kill someone else using a submachine gun, when he dies and drops it, I won't get any ammo if we weren't using the exact same gun. Instead, I only get the option to drop my gun for theirs, only making use of whatever ammo they had left in the clip. This adds another layer of challenge to fights, as you can't carelessly waste ammo shooting at everything in front of you. Not only that, but ammo is expensive too, so you can go bankrupt fast trying to top off your weapons. This will encourage you not to rely solely on one weapon in encounters, having to change it up if you don't want to be caught off guard when your gun is empty. This is somewhat mitigated by the fact you can carry 8 different weapon types at once, which, thanks to the use of the weapon wheel, you can swap between them easily. I love how easy it is to swap on the fly, so much better than cycling through weapons like the PS2 GTA games. Hell, I'm convinced this inspired Rockstar to add it to GTA 5, though they would make use of it in Red Dead Redemption first. The game doesn't feature a cover system, instead it'll let you crouch behind objects like barrels or crates. Nothing groundbreaking, but it does offer some protection, or the chance to heal yourself. That's another thing that's different here, as while GTA made use of health packs that would drop during missions, here there's a health regeneration system in place, so you'll slowly recover damage after getting hurt. But you can also buy burgers at the local Freckle Bitches, which maps the burgers to your directional pad that you can eat when checking your weapon wheel. It's not instantaneous though, as you can still get shot while eating. All these factors can make fights against the other gangs overwhelming if you go in unprepared. But that's what you got your homies for. After joining the Saints, you can recruit fellow members off the streets to help you out, along with special homies you can unlock by doing certain activities, who you can call up to come in and help out, often carrying a unique weapon that's better than what the regular Saints may have. And unlike the brain-dead AI of the Grove Street families, they can be really effective in fights, often taking out other enemies or keeping their attention so you can get a moment to heal or move in to finish the job. Not only that, but in one of the best features of the series, if your homies go down, you get 30 seconds to run over and revive them. This feature transfers over to escort missions, keeping you in the action instead of worrying about babysitting them constantly. Honestly, I don't understand why more games don't have this. Getting the chance to revive an NPC makes escort missions way less of a chore, especially with games that have terrible AI. Segueing back to Stillwater, what the hell is there to do in this big-ass city? Well, quite a lot. First, you got your usual hidden collectibles, this time in the form of CDs that will unlock original music tracks in the game for every 10 you collect. Then there's tagging, letting you spray over rival gang tags with the Saints, netting you some respect for each tag. Once you spray over all the gang's tags, you'll get a perk that slows down how fast your stamina bar depletes, and giving you infinite stamina for tagging all 75 gang tags. Next, if you're unsatisfied with your character's appearance, you can get them a new haircut or hit up a plastic surgeon to completely redo their look. That or hit up the clothing shops for some fresh digs. You get a lot of variety to the clothes you can buy, wearing different hats, undershirts, overshirts, pants, and shoes, along with jewelry and tattoos. And you can customize those individual pieces of clothing by changing their colors, easily letting you rock the Saints colors with whatever you choose. The right clothing will also provide a respect bonus, increasing your respect score when completing side activities. You can break into stores at night when they're closed in order to rob their safes and sell out the goods to a pawn shop. Almost guaranteed you'll do this by accident when you try to buy a weapon or more ammo at night and end up breaking into the weapon shop by mistake. You can also rob places during the day by holding up the clerk and forcing them to open the safe instead. While running around, if you steal a car with more than one passenger inside, after you throw out the driver, you can hold whoever's left in the car hostage, netting you some extra cash if you manage to drive around fast and prevent them from escaping the car while you wait for the timer to run out. But if you really want to make some cash, you'll need to do side activities. Oh boy, side activities. Where do I even start here? Well, for one, they're similar to the side missions in Grand Theft Auto. You know, like the vigilante missions you can access when in a cop car, which pays you for killing criminals. Or the taxi missions where you drive patrons around within a time limit. In Saints Row, there are several of them around the map, with differing levels of difficulty, which increase the amount of respect you gain along with the cash you can earn. First one you're introduced to is Snatch, which has you help an ally of the Saints named Will. His pimp game isn't as strong as it used to be, as he only has one hoe left, who I assume he recruited from freckle bitches. So he'll ask for your help in killing rival pimps, recruiting their hoes and bringing them back to him. The first Snatch job only has 2 levels of difficulty, but when you complete it, you'll unlock Will as a homie you can call for backup. There are 2 more Snatch missions for different NPCs on the map, their difficulty going up to level 8. Each increase in level will require you to pick up more girls within a time limit, while fighting an escalating onslaught of rival gangs and the cops. Sticking with the sex business, next is Escort. In a sense, you're the pimp this time, as you'll need to drive escorts around to meet their clients, driving them around until their business is done. But to keep it from being too simple, you have to avoid media trucks at the same time. If the media exposure bar fills before the pleasure bar, you'll fail. Each increase in level adds more and more TV vans, along with the client occasionally asking you to drive them somewhere specific, before their pleasure gauge will go up again. Next is drug trafficking, where you act as muscle for a local dealer while they sell drugs around the city, making sure to protect him and kill anyone trying to interrupt his business. After that is a staple of the series, and probably my favorite of the activities, insurance fraud. Working with a scrupulous individual, you'll go into ragdoll physics mode as you throw yourself in front of traffic, in order to make cash and bogus insurance claims. You'll earn a score based on what car hits you, how many cars you bounce off of, and how far you go flying after getting hit. Each level requires you to reach a certain payout within a time limit. This one is probably the easiest of all the activities to cheese, as if you steal a police car to use during the mission, you can crash it into other cars, fly out the windshield, and watch that score multiplier go sky high, sometimes ending the activity just seconds after starting. Next is racing. Fairly straightforward, just drive around a given area and win the race. Though I don't like that there isn't an icon on the road telling you when to make your next turn, as this causes me to focus more on the minimap to know where I'm going. Then we got hijack, where you need to track down a car marked on the map, damage it enough so that the driver bails, and then take the ride back to where the activity started. In a similar spirit is demolition derby, You're put in an arena with a bunch of other cars and need to smash into and destroy a certain number of cars to win the round. Mayhem has you head to a specific area and cause as much destruction as possible, earning bonus points for using specific weapons or attacking specific targets. Next we have Chop Shop, where you'll be given a list of cars to find around the city to bring back to the garage for a payout. And finally there's Hitman, where you're given a list of NPCs you need to kill around the city. This is easily the worst of the activities, as it's very time consuming. The NPC doesn't always spawn where they're supposed to, and never mind the fact that you'll need to find them on your own without a marker on the map. And some targets need to be killed by specific weapons in order for you to receive credit. I only managed to kill one target, and that was completely by accident, as they happen to be killed as collateral damage during another mission. Now, the big key differences between side missions in GTA and side activities here in Saints Row is that side activities aren't exactly optional. While you're not required to do all of them, you're going to have to do quite a few, as this game uses a respect system in order to advance the main story. In order to do main story missions, you have to have at least one level of respect already earned that gets deducted when completing the mission. This is exactly how you needed to earn and spend badges in True Crime Streets of LA in order to do missions or upgrade your stats. If you don't have at least one level of respect, you'll get a message that tells you to go out and earn more respect before you can start it. You can do this by killing other gang members, or like I mentioned before, wearing the right clothes. But this will only give you so much, so the most efficient way is doing the side activities. But Fuzzy, what's the problem, you say? Sounds like there's a decent variety of side activities to do, which sound fun and pay you cash on top of earning reputation. Well, the problem is you'll spend more time doing side activities than you will be focusing on the story missions. Story missions don't pay out any respect, so you'll always have to stop what you're doing to grind up respect in order to do another mission. The payout from activities aren't bad exactly, but some take longer than others in order to complete. Not only that, but once you've completed each level of a given side activity, you'll stop earning respect by doing them and can only gain cash. Meaning sooner or later, you're going to whittle away the better activities and have to waste time doing enough of the crappier ones. Look, I get wanting to make the player engage with everything the game has to offer. The fact GTA doesn't do that is why I almost never bring up its side missions and videos. But this feels less like I'm engaging with extra content, and more like the game is being padded out to extend the runtime, as Saints Row only has 36 story missions. For comparison's sake, GTA 3 had 51 story missions. Sure, a couple were just a glorified cutscene, but that's still a lot more than Saints Row, which was released 5 years after the first 3D GTA. Honestly, I think they should have ditched the respect mechanic and worked some of the side activities into the main story instead. It would have felt more organic, especially since they begin with a cutscene introducing a new NPC, and it could reward the player with the chance to go out and do more after completing the initial level. I know respect is still a thing in the sequel, but it didn't feel anywhere near as tedious as here to grind up for missions. Because I had to stop to grind up my reputation constantly, it ended up making the story feel very disjointed. Made worse because there's 3 storylines running at the same time to keep track of. So for the sake of keeping this video focused and consistent, I'm dividing up the story portion by storyline instead of the actual order I did the missions. And before diving in, I just want to say, no, I didn't forget about Strongholds. I'll get into those later in the video.
Every motherfucker here knows what we need to do. Now those bitches be riding around here thinking they own these streets. I don't care what flags they flying. Rollers, Carnales, Vice Kings. No one's making this nigga scared to walk the road. We about to lock this shit down right now.
All right, yeah!
Yeah!
Fuck yeah! Who the fuck's this guy?
After you join the Saints, you'll work to take control of the row. This brief opening act essentially working as a tutorial for the rest of the game. The first mission, like I mentioned earlier, basically has you hopped into the crew, teaching you the game's melee mechanics as you fight everyone, giving you options to punch, kick, and block. But honestly, it feels very underutilized during the game, and you'll practically never need to get into melee. You don't need to win this fight, but you do get an alternate cutscene if you beat up all the Saints jumping you in. Next, you'll team up with Troy to push the Vice Kings out of the row, where he'll first take you to friendly fire to buy a gun, then after you kill some Vice Kings and get some gang heat, he'll tell you to head to Forgive and Forget. Similar to Scarface The World Is Yours, you have both gang and police heat, so depending on how much you piss off one side, They'll constantly come chasing after you with escalating levels of violence, till you can save or hit forgive and forget to be absolved of your sins. Afterwards, Troy will get a hankering for some burgers.
Hey man, now that everything's taken care of, can you drop me off at Freckle Bitches? I'm jonesing for a fun bag.
Next will be the Snatch mission for Will that I previously mentioned that introduces the side activities and respect system. Then, after clearing some Carnales from a storefront, you'll team up with Julius and Troy. Head down to the docks and push out the remaining gangs out of the area, securing your hold on the row. Julius will then rally the troops back at the church, pointing out that while they won the battle, they're far from winning the war, as it's not until the other gangs are completely wiped out in Stillwater will the Saints be in complete control and unchallenged. This is where the game will break off into 3 different storylines, each one focusing on taking down a particular gang, and the missions being run by specific members of the Saints. First are Los Carnales, who you'll be teaming up with Dex and Troy to take down. Then the Vice Kings, who Julius wanted Troy to handle, but he pussied out.
Not a chance.
Fuck you say?
Anyone but them.
You scared of going against Benjamin King?
Man, fuck that. I'll take King out.
So Johnny Gat will be in charge of them. And finally, the Westside Rollerz, who Lynn will be in charge of, as she'll act as a mole within their organization in order to take them down. From here, you're completely free to take on each gang in whatever order you prefer. And you're not locked into a storyline either, as you can freely switch between the missions whenever you want, assuming you have the respect, of course. Now, I love this level of player freedom, as it keeps the game from being played the same way each time. But like I mentioned before, this freedom in combination with having to grind for respect constantly can make these stories feel disjointed. So I'm going to go from gang to gang instead of the actual order I did missions. First up, the Los Carnales.
The Carnales.
What?
Rio Grande River. Jesus.
What the fuck?
It's not the Los Carnales, it's just the Carnales. Los means... fuck it.
Oh, right. I speak Spanish. I should know this already. Los Carnales are the oldest gang in the city, at one point being in complete control of Stillwater, till Benjamin King and the Vice Kings stepped up to challenge them. Currently, the gang is run by Hector and Angelo Lopez, with their bodyguard Victor acting as their almost unstoppable enforcer who survived dozens of drive-bys. But what makes them really powerful is that they're backed by the cartel. So Dex wants us to avoid going in guns blazing, instead opting to weaken them by cutting off their income, before going after the Lopez brothers. I start this little process by going out to destroy 2 of their drug labs, taking control of those neighborhoods and now earning a passive income I can collect back at my crib. As I complete story missions throughout the game, I'll take over more enemy territory, which increases the amount of passive income I get. Meeting Dex and Troy outside Freckle Bitches, the next plan is to hijack a Carnales drug shipment. Heading down to the docks with Troy, I take out the truck's protection and guard him while he hotwires the truck. Once he's inside, I have to protect Troy and the truck until we can make it back to the garage in Saints Row. Troy also won't drive the truck unless I'm within a certain range of him, detailed by this glowing circle on the minimap. While this can make him a sitting duck if I'm too far away, it does also give me time to take out any Carnales chasing us, along with replacing my car if it gets damaged without worry of failing for being too far. Afterwards, retreated to a cutscene of Los Carnales leadership discussing their missing drug shipment.
Angelo, I need you to go to the lab tonight. One of our shipments didn't arrive, and I want to make sure no one's skimming off the top.
No problem.
Old Scarface here is Hector. Next to him is his younger brother Angelo. Discount Danny Trejo here is their enforcer Victor. And for some reason, Frank from Scarface is here. That's Manuel. He's part of the cartel Los Carnales work with. Oh, and the bikini-clad babe over there is Angelo's girlfriend, Luce. She doesn't really do anything in the gang, but she sure is pretty to look at. Hector is the de facto leader of Los Carnales, and by his tone and lack of patience for his brother's antics, he's serious about running his business. Despite both brothers technically running the gang together, Angelo is subservient to his brother, quick to fold and do as he's told. Victor isn't particularly fleshed out outside of his loyalty to the brothers and his near superhuman indestructibility. Manuel, being the contact with the cartel, effectively outrants everyone there, and is quick to call out the brothers for any issues their organization runs into. And he has a very obvious thing for Angelo's girlfriend. During this cutscene, they find out the Saints were responsible for the missing drugs. And refreshingly, instead of blowing them off as an insignificant threat, They decide to handle the issue immediately, with Hector ordering his brother and Victor to lead Los Carnales in attacking the Saints' church, which leads us to the next mission.
Hola, mi amigo.
You gotta be fucking kidding me.
Gracias, Víctor. De nada.
Let's get back to Hector.
Sí, pero primero vamos a golpear a Freckle Bitches.
Cool. I'm buying.
After a member of the Saints fills in Dex about what just happened, we have to run around and finish off the remaining Carnales. During the next mission, Dex has managed to find Los Carnales' main drug production facility, and comes up with a plan to infiltrate it and take it over. Using the truck we previously stole, we use it as a Trojan horse filled with Saints Row members in order to get access to the facility, and then kill every Carnales member guarding the place in order to take it over. The cutscene afterwards sees Hector downplaying what just happened to Manuel, and while he sounds convincing enough, Manuel criticizes his ability to deal with the Saints, hitting a sore spot when he tells Hector that his father would have killed them by now. Returning to Troy and Dex, we get a bit of gun porn as the saleswoman at Friendly Fire tells us about the McManus sniper rifle.
This is the McManus. As you see, it's fully collapsible and comes in a stately black attaché. The 18-inch cryogenically treated stainless steel bull barrel gives this rifle a guaranteed accuracy of .2 minute of angle at 600 yards with match-grade ammunition. With its hand-ream chamber and match-grade trigger, the McManus is designed for the marksman who wants to reach out and touch someone at a moment's notice.
I'll take it.
We're going to use this sucker to take out Hector, who's about to meet with the Colombians down at the docks. The mission is timed as I have to race down there before the meeting is over. And there's even a bit of platforming, as I have to get to the perfect spot in order to oversee the deal and kill everyone there. It's not quite a cakewalk, as some Carnales down there are using rocket launchers that can easily one-shot me off the building if I'm not careful. I also made this a lot tougher for myself, as I couldn't figure out how to zoom in until after the mission was done. So I basically had to work with taking pot shots at ants. I'm not even sure which one of these guys was Hector. After my work is done, the cops scoop up the remaining Carnales members and their drugs. Though they miss Victor, who managed to escape. He calls up Angelo, who's a little busy with Luce at the moment, filling him in about his brother's death. While they don't know the Saints were behind the hit, Angelo does his due diligence, asking Victor to go deal with them while he makes sure that Manuel and the Colombians didn't double-cross them. Returning to the church, Troy manages to get info on Manuel and discovers he's the Carnales Colombian contact. He suggests killing him to cripple Team Red permanently, but Dex decides against it, as this would just cause the Colombians to go after the Saints instead. Dex suggests going out to meet Manuel personally, maybe coming to some deal where the Colombians work with the Saints and ditch the Carnales. Heading to the strip club to try and meet him, we're ambushed by Victor and a bunch of Carnales. So we'll have to escape and make it back to the row while Dex tries to keep us alive by killing our pursuers.
Julius, I don't see what the big deal is.
The deal is you went to talk to the Colombians without me.
We didn't even get to meet him, Jules.
And don't call me Jules, you haven't earned it.
Fine. Julius, you put me in charge of the Los Carnales. Shit, now you got me saying it.
Dex, do your job. Don't think you're bigger than you are. When it comes to the Colombians, you call me. Understand?
Yeah.
At the church, Julius reappears, now angry at Dex for trying to meet with the Colombians without his consent. Before the gang can come up with an actual plan on what to do next, they're ambushed by Team Red. It's a much bigger assault compared to the first time they attacked the row, sending in wave after wave of goons to attack the church on all sides. And despite having Troy, Dex, and Julius as backup, along with other Saints grunts, it could still take a while to kill all the Carnales. Doesn't help that a lot of them will park their cars up close to you, where you can very easily blow yourself up or catch on fire if you destroy their cars, like I did. Finally, Victor will join the fray in his personal ride, and it's super annoying because he just keeps driving around refusing to stay still. Doesn't help that I wasted most of my ammo by this point in the fight, and had to scrounge around for dropped weapons. After finally managing to destroy his ride, Victor will come out of it, the bastard's still alive and soaking up damage, despite the fact he's in the middle of burning to death. But eventually I put him down.
What?
Catching up with Dex and Troy, Julius went out and met with Manuel, coming to a deal with the Colombian. The cartel is willing to ditch Los Carnales and work with the Saints if we're able to retrieve the drugs the cops confiscated back when we killed Hector. At first, Dex thinks we should fight our way through the police station to get the drugs, but Troy suggests we blow up the outside wall leading into the evidence locker to make it easier for ourselves. So we do just that. First by rigging a bomb to a car, blowing the wall, and having a truckload of Saints hop in and retrieve the drugs. While they're gathering everything up, I'll have to guard the truck and fight off any cops trying to stop us. Until finally I drive the truck out of there and make it back to the garage. Afterwards, Manuel makes good on his word and agrees to work with the Saints. But our little meeting is cut short when it's ambushed by Angelo, who thinks he's been proven right that the Colombians betrayed and killed his brother. After he runs off, Manuel gives us some info as a way to solidify our new partnership, telling us the location of Angelo's mansion, though he asks that we don't kill Luce. Ambushing the mansion with Dex, we kill our way through in search of Angelo. Unfortunately, I run into a glitch as the door leading out to his balcony won't open, so I can't follow him to his room to trigger the cutscene to proceed. But after killing myself and reloading the mission, I get it working. Cornered, Angelo will hop out the window and into his car to try and escape. Dex will drive after him while I take out any Carnales chasing after us. But unfortunately, Angelo gives us the slip.
You gotta be fucking kidding me. Don't worry about it. He ain't got too many places he can go. We'll find him.
This brings an end to the Carnales storyline for now, so it's time to help Johnny Gat take down the Vice Kings.
Take a seat, man. So you're Julius's new boy, huh? You don't look like much. Then again, I don't look like I have an 8-inch cock, so I guess we're both full of surprises.
Ah, good old Johnny Gat. If Dex was the careful planner of the Saints, then Johnny is its loose cannon. His solution to every problem is violence and destruction. And to be fair, it does usually work. Johnny can be arrogant and disrespectful to just about everyone, but is good at heart and fiercely loyal to the Saints. Not a fan of that bleach blonde hair he's rocking though. Glad he goes full black in future games. Like I mentioned earlier, the Vice Kings came to power when their leader, Benjamin King, rallied everyone in his neighborhood together to fight off Los Carnales. While they succeeded in pushing them out of their hood, the Kings just ended up becoming another street gang. Though Benjamin King has worked to become a more legitimate businessman, as he runs a successful record label, Kingdom Come Records, and has ties with the police and City Hall. He uses his influence to keep the cops from messing with the Vice Kings. This intro mission has Johnny receive a call from his friend and love interest Aisha, who begs for his help as her sister was snatched off the streets by the Vice Kings. So it's up to me to tail the kidnappers and bring her to safety. It's the usual tailing mission, but instead of a dumb spookometer, the game has a radius around the car that's visible on the minimap. You need to stay in the outer circle to tail the car, and avoid the inner circle and be seen. Catching up to the girls, I kill their kidnappers, rescue them, and get them back home. Returning to the row, we're formally introduced to Aisha, who's in the middle of arguing with Johnny. She left the Saints some time ago to become a musician, and landed her big break when she was signed by Kingdom Come Records. But her contract with them sucks, so she's basically being extorted by them now. So she's come to Johnny and the Saints for help in escaping her contract. Johnny's big brain idea to solving the problem? Well, let's just fake her death. Seems a little extreme, but considering the predatory contracts that artists are forced to sign when joining the actual music industry, it may not be an unrealistic idea. The plan is to drive Aisha to her next recording session, load up a car with C4, and then blow it up outside Kingdom Come Records, damaging the building and seemingly killing her. I have to drive her there carefully as too much damage to the car will cause it to prematurely explode, which wouldn't be too bad if it wasn't for Aisha's stalker, who comes out of nowhere to ram into us and chase her. Nothing a bullet to his brain won't fix. Dropping her off, we set off the bomb and fake her death. Catching up with Aisha and Johnny as they enjoy a romantic dinner at Freckle Bitches, the next mission is to go after Tanya Winters, who runs the prostitution racket for the Vice Kings. First, we take out the patrol of Vice Kings protecting her brothel, before busting in there and killing every guy we see, though we don't get to Tanya.
How much is this studio incident gonna set us back?
The incident? I'm sorry. I thought some motherfuckers blew up my shit. I didn't realize it ain't no thing.
How much?
Including the loss of revenue from Aisha's death, I'd say we talking millions.
The cutscene that plays after will introduce the heads of the Vice Kings, made up of a star-studded cast of voice actors. We got their leader and namesake, Benjamin King, voiced by Michael Clark Duncan. I mean, you know who he is, right? I don't have to explain where you've seen him before. You know, nominated for Best Supporting Actor for his standout appearance in... Yep, that's right, the 2003 masterpiece Daredevil. Next we got Anthony Green, or just Tony. He's King's bodyguard and voiced by the original Ghost of Sparta himself, T.C. Carson. Then, Tony's girlfriend Tanya, voiced by Mila Kunis. You know, Jackie on That 70s Show and Meg on Family Guy. And finally, Warren Williams, the numbers guy for King, in charge of running Kingdom Come Records, voiced by Ogie Banks, who you either know as Omie in Naruto or Miles Morales in Ultimate Spider-Man. Things aren't all rainbows and sunshine in King's Court, as while he's trying his best to stay calm and handle their current losses intelligently, his underlings are too quick to try and fight fire with fire. Specifically Warren, who disrespects and undermines his boss until he's put back in his place. While he's not taking the situation with the Saints seriously enough, he does decide to have Police Chief Monroe put the squeeze on the row. After this mission, Johnny will call up warning you that the cops have begun cracking down on Saints members on the streets. At the same time, he'll get a call that Tanya and the Vice Kings are trying to take back Prawn Court, after we just finished capturing it. While this mission is treated as its own thing, it's technically a pushback mission. Similar to San Andreas' Turf Wars, after you captured an area of the city, every once in a while the gang you took it from will try and take it back. But it's nowhere near as obnoxious as it was in San Andreas. For one, pushbacks will only happen to a given neighborhood once, so you don't have to constantly worry about fighting for the same spots over and over again. Second is that you don't have to drop everything and rush to that spot to go save it, as the gang invading it won't win it back. Instead, you won't gain any passive income from that area while the pushback is active. Honestly, the whole gang mechanic in San Andreas really wore thin for me, especially towards the end of the game with back-to-back missions focusing on it. But here, it took out the more annoying aspects and repetitiveness, and made gang missions actually fun to enjoy. Returning to the church, Johnny has found out where Tanya is hiding, in an abandoned police station being guarded by the Vice Kings. Together, we storm the place, find and chase after Tanya, killing every Vice King in our way. But unfortunately, it turns out it's a trap, as Tony Green gets the drop on Johnny and I.
How about you drop the gun, honey?
If I were you, I'd listen to the lady.
Well, of course you would. You being her bitch.
Watch your fucking mouth.
Hey, no reason to be hostile. Explains how your bitch lost Prawn Court.
Are you gonna let him talk about me like that?
Don't worry, baby. I got this.
Yeah, Tanya, shut the fuck up.
I thought I told you to be quiet.
I got shitty hearing.
Now you got a shitty leg.
So do you.
Go now!
Baby, we better call King.
Well, crap. Better get back to the church and form a plan to save Johnny. On my way back, as I avoid getting arrested by the cops, we'll get a scene of Benjamin King talking to Warren, satisfied that he's captured Johnny and confident the cops will take care of me. But Warren wants to gather a crew and storm the church to finish the rest of us off.
I mean, you gonna sit your black ass down and wait 'cause I fucking said so. Don't worry about the one that got away. The 5-0 will take care of him.
Oh, so while you lounging, Trey Street keeps jacking us. That's great. That's fucking brilliant.
Slow up, little nigga.
King once again puts his hot-headed lieutenant in his place, reminding him to just focus on the record label and stop trying to prove himself as a gangster. It works for now, but Benjamin King has really got to do something about Warren before he gets too big-headed and does something stupid. Back at the church, Julius and Dex have formed a plan to save Johnny. Tanya has been cheating on Tony with Warren, an open secret that Johnny commented on while he got captured. This has put Tony on edge, so he's been keeping a tight leash on Tanya and limiting how often she leaves his apartment. The plan is to replace her personal driver, take her around the city, and then wait till she leads us back to Tony's place. It's a simple mission, just driving her around to go shopping, though we do get attacked by the Saints, as some of Troy's crew wasn't filled in on the plan. Once we escape, I follow Tanya up to Tony's apartment, knock her out, and go in.
Don't you
After killing the Vice Kings and Tony, I find Johnny Gat and set him free.
Hey, not to be pushy or nothing, but how about you get me out of this fucking chair? About fucking time you got here. Where's Green? That's much better. Now, I heard Green say that he's got some heavy shit in the back. I'll have some of our boys roll on over and bring the hardware back to the crib.
Returning to him and Dex later on, despite the fact Tony is dead now, Johnny still wants more payback against the Vice Kings, especially since his leg is still busted up. Dex talks him down. Instead, he suggests they try to disrupt the relationship between the cops and the Kings. The plan? Have Johnny and I dress up as Vice Kings, causing as much mayhem and destruction as we can, making sure the media sees what we're doing, getting the public to put pressure on the cops to start doing something about the Vice Kings. It's a pretty fun mission, especially after we do some bowling and get our hands on a bulldozer to take out the statue at City Hall. Our plan ends up working, as the mayor will call up Benjamin King and start grilling him about our actions. We up the ante next mission, after Dex finds out that the cops have been taking payoffs from the Vice King's protection rackets. He wants us to go public with the info, but Johnny suggests a more subtle approach. Well, as subtle as you can get when it comes to blowing people up with rocket launchers. He wants us to drive around and kill the cops taking payouts from the Vice Kings. The idea being that people will start asking questions while we only kill certain cops, forcing the rest of the police department to try and save face, to look clean by cracking down on the Vice Kings. During our drive, I bond with Johnny a little as I listen to his relationship troubles with Aisha, and offer him some advice.
I mean, I pay for her every time we go out, so I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I picked up the check at the firing range. And she goes on and on, dinner this, flowers that. Fucking bullshit, right? Yeah, thanks for your advice, man. You're a big help.
The bulk of the mission is Johnny driving around as I protect him and blow up the cops, and whoever chases after us with an infinite supply of rocket launchers. Afterwards, we park the car outside Kingdom Come Records, and blow it up again before it's finished being rebuilt. Things aren't going so well in King's Court, as Warren has grown fed up with him failing to bring down the hammer on the Saints.
You forgot who you talking to. My name is Benjamin motherfucking King. I'm the man who took my crew from being a bunch of baby gangsters in Sunnyvale to being one of the most influential and feared forces in the goddamn city. You know how I did that?
And despite trying to put his lieutenant back in his place, Warren and Tanya have managed to convince enough of the Vice Kings to mutiny against their boss. Well, guess we don't have to worry about him anymore, right? Not quite, as the next mission, Julius asks for our help in saving King, as the two used to be tight back in the day, having rolled in the same gang together before Julius left to form the Saints. So while he doesn't care what happens to the Vice Kings, he owes it to his old friend to save him. I'll have to race the King's location, all the while his health slowly trickles away as he fights off his old gang. Once I arrive, we team up and fight our way out of there. afterwards tracking down and chasing after Warren, putting an end to that traitor. Or so it seems, as despite his car blowing up, he does manage to survive. Though not for long.
Hey, baby.
The fuck you standing around for? Give me a fucking hand!
Little nigga, huh? I so care who little nigga is. His motherfucking ass is mine.
Hey, yo, Tanya! What's going on?
You're a bright boy. I'm sure you can figure it out.
Bitch, you better not miss, cause if...
Thanks for the advice.
Returning to the church, despite just having saved Benjamin King, Julius isn't done taking down the Vice Kings, giving his friend the ultimatum to either walk away or die with his crew. He chooses a third option, insisting on taking down Tanya, who's now in control of the gang. King suggests thinning out the ranks of the Vice Kings, first by heading to their hangouts and then leading them to police ambushes. He'll ride along with me during this mission, and it's basically the inverse of the usual tailing mission, as after I get the Vice Kings' attention, I need to keep them inside the red circle so they follow me to the cops. After the police are done taking out the Vice Kings, we only have one loose end to wrap up: Tanya. But for now, the missions for the Vice Kings are done. So let's move on to the final gang, the Westside Rollerz. The Westside Rollerz are the newest and smallest gang in Stillwater. Their turf located in the suburbs. Team Blue is mostly made up of spoiled rich kids, obsessed with street racing and dealing in stolen car parts. Their storyline feels like one huge send-up to the Fast and Furious franchise, specifically the first movie. They're even led by their own discount Dominic Toretto. I'll mainly be working with Lynn during this storyline, who is currently undercover working with the Rollers. When I first heard her voice, I thought she was Michelle Rodriguez, as another reference to the Fast and Furious series. But she's actually voiced by Tia Carey, who you might know as Cassandra Wong in Wayne's World, but I mostly know her as the voice of Nani and Lilo and Stitch.
That's a sweet ride, Lynn.
Uh-huh.
Who tuned it for you?
No one. I did it myself.
The spoiler looks like Donnie's work. No way, that underglow screams Ricky Lou.
Yeah, I guess it does. What is this, fucking third grade?
What do you mean?
Forget it, I'll see you tomorrow.
Dropping in on her, Lynn fills me in that she hasn't learned much about the Rollers yet. Most she knows is about a delivery of high-performance cars they're expecting. So she tells me to go snatch the flatbed carrying the cars and take it to Samson to get them fitted with a surprise. This was one of the first missions I did, and it's surprisingly tougher than expected. In order to hijack the truck, you have to damage it enough for the driver to bail. But at the same time, you have to deal with the Rollers escorting it. Since I was still learning the controls at that point, I had a hard time shooting the truck and driving at the same time. I also didn't have a lot of ammo, so I tried focusing on just the truck and ignoring the Rollers, which caused me to die a few times. But once I got in the truck, it was smooth sailing as I was essentially unstoppable on my way to Samson. Later on, I'll meet up with Lynn at a nightclub, where she fills us in on what we're going to do with those cars. Samson has rigged them with bombs that will blow once the cars go fast enough. So we'll need to join a street race and do well enough that the other racers get desperate and hit the Nas, blowing themselves up as they try to beat us. Troy will tag along for this mission, changing the objective from outracing the Rollers to driving close enough to them for Troy to shit-talk them and trick them into using their Nas. Hey, as long as it works. Meeting up with Lynn in Chinatown, she finds out that the leader of the Rollers is Joseph Price. In order to get things moving faster, she comes up with an idea on how to get an audience with him. She sends me to the garage belonging to a mechanic named Donnie, a close personal friend of Price. Lynn's plan is to have me attack the place, killing some Rollers and endangering Donnie's life. That's when she'll swoop in out of nowhere to save his ass, and get in his good graces, hopefully getting Donnie to introduce her to Price. The remaining portion of the mission has me chasing after them for a while before letting them escape. Lynn will call up later after the plan works, giving me the location of Price's mansion. Heading there, I snoop outside the window to spy on Vin Diesel here, and as it turns out, while he leads the Rollers, he's not the one pulling the strings. Here we're introduced to Price's uncle, William Sharp, who is the one financially backing the Rollers. Unlike the other leaders of the rival gangs, he's strictly professional, cold and absolutely ruthless. His no-nonsense performance provided by David Carradine. Insert Kill Bill reference here. Donnie will show up with Lynn, letting Price and Sharp know about what happened and how Lynn assisted. While Price is welcoming of Lynn, Sharp is a lot more careful. Quick to try and shut up Donnie when he mentions a convoy of trucks the Rollerz are planning to rob soon. That's my cue to go and foil their scheme, as I race to protect the trucks and kill the Rollerz chasing after them. This was another one I struggled with, as the Rollerz can shred the truck's health fast if I don't deal with them quickly. And because of where they spawn relative to the trucks, they'll usually have a head start if I don't know the exact path they'll attack from. It took a couple failures till I finally nailed it, and I'm not sure if it was a glitch or intentional, but the Rollerz and the final truck were all stuck near a tree, making them easy pickings to protect that last truck. During my initial playthrough, I dropped the Rollerz storyline here until I finished the other gangs, so I kinda checked out on what was happening in the plot until I went through the footage for this video. Returning to Price's mansion, Donnie comes to Sharp with a plan to make up for losing the trucks. Well, technically it's Lynn's idea, but they suggest seeking out select cars in the city and stripping them for the parts they need. Sharp is dismissive of the idea, but gives the okay after he and Lynn get into a bit of a back and forth.
So your plan is to go steal cars. You really know how to think outside the box, Donnie.
Don't talk to him like that.
I'll take your advice to heart.
It's not advice.
A threat? Huh. How refreshing.
Listen up, you
Lynn, don't worry about it.
Shut up, Donnie.
You were saying.
I was about to tell you to go fuck yourself.
And here I thought we were bonding.
At first, I didn't think it was so smart for her to antagonize him, and it almost seemed like she was breaking character, but I realized the scene was more about her manipulating Donnie and making it look like she had his best interest at heart. Now I'll have to go destroy the targeted cars before the Rollerz can hijack them. If you're fast enough, you can get to the car and destroy it before the Rollerz arrive. Otherwise, if they do steal it, you'll have to chase them down to destroy the car. Despite our success, this incident ends up blowing Lynn's cover. As Sharp points out, only 4 people knew about the jobs we sabotaged. And through process of elimination, Lynn is the only one who could have a reason to ruin their plans. Uh-oh. Hopefully she figures this out herself before Sharp has her taken care of.
Sup, player? Lynn's been saying you're doing a hell of a job when it comes to the Rollerz. Keep it up. That Lynn?
Hey, meet me at the pool hall. The Rollerz are getting into something big.
Don't let me hold you up. You know how the lady hates to be kept waiting.
Good girl.
Go fuck yourself.
Temper, little girl. Look at you. All tied up pretty as a present. I think it's time to unwrap you.
Well, crap. Lynn's phone call leads to an ambush, where I have to fight my way through the Rollerz and eventually find her. Too bad Sharp was still one step ahead, as one of his flunkies gets the drop on me and knocks me out.
Sounds like the cops are coming, Mr. Sharp.
Let's take our guests for a ride, shall we?
This is the first and only time where one mission will flow into the next, as I get captured along with Lynn.
Hey, I think we stopped moving. You listening? You even alive? Say something. Ow! I'll take that as a yes. Where the fuck's my lighter?
What are you doing driving Lynn's ride, Mr. Sharp?
I'm glad you could make it, Donnie. There's something I want you to see.
Stay calm. We're gonna get out of this.
The following cutscene has Sharp calling up Donnie to reveal he's captured us and exposes Lynn for her betrayal. She tries to argue her innocence to Donnie, but earns the two of us a bullet to the gut, which ironically seems to convince Donnie somewhat, as he's unable to accept the truth and refuses to help Sharp in pushing the car with us inside into the river. While it may look like we're done for, Lynn manages to find her lighter and use it to burn through the ropes tying me up, allowing me to escape and surface. But Lynn is nowhere to be seen. Oh, I'm sure she'll be fine. Best I go hunt down Sharp and kill him instead of diving back underwater to try and save her. Catching up to Sharp, I fill his car full of holes and watch as that bastard burns to death. Can't wait to tell Lynn about how he died screaming like a bitch. I'm sure I'll catch her back at the church.
Did you catch the news? Looks like they found Lynn's body floating in the river this morning. Sorry, dog. I know you did everything you could.
What? No, not Lynn. She was pretty cool. And hot. Oh, man. Donnie's going to be heartbroken when he finds out. How can I possibly move on without her?
You have reached Eye for an Eye, Voodoo Supply. The forces around us are keeping us busy and unable to answer the phone. After all, the land of the living and the realm of the dead are always connected. Should you experience a tragic loss, don't hesitate to call, and we'll see how the spirits receive you.
There we go. Glad to have you back as good as new, Lynn. I gotta say, while it's a little fucked that you can revive her as a zombie, I do think it's a pretty cool little Easter egg, as the phone number for Eye for an Eye Voodoo Supplies is only played on the radio, and any player that decides to try the number and call them may not even know it actually does anything, as it only works after Lynn dies. Of course, nowadays, thanks to that dang old internet, it's pretty much an open secret on how to do it, which is why I knew about it. Also, I learned that there's in fact fast travel in the game, as you can call the number for the taxi depots in town to have them drive you around. I only used it a couple times, as it really wasn't too big a hassle to drive around, but still pretty neat. While the Saints are mourning Lynn, Dom is rallying his family.
Granny shifting, not double clutching like you should. You're lucky that 100-shot of NOS didn't blow the welds on the intake.
Leading a convoy of rollers to attack the church. Troy will warn us that they're on the way, so Julius and I decide to head out to cut them off before they make it to the row. Once on the highway, Julius takes the wheel, while I blow up the rollers using a rocket launcher, whittling them down till it's just Price.
We're coming up on Price. Let's take that motherfucker out. Nigga, you should buckle your seatbelt. Just the same, one getting away ain't bad. Let's get out of here, player. We'll deal with Price once you get patched up.
Unfortunately, he manages to get away, but we'll catch up to him soon enough. This brings an end to the Westside Rollerz storyline, and with this, we enter the finales for all three storylines. Now, before the final mission for each gang can be unlocked, I have to take over all of the remaining Strongholds. See? Told you I'd get to Strongholds eventually. They're introduced pretty early during the first opening hour of the game, but Strongholds are basically bases that the gangs control and use to run their businesses. While not technically story missions, they are mandatory to do, and also require respect in order to do them. They slowly unlock over the game as you progress through the story, and can be done at any time after they appear on the map. Now, while they're all labeled as Strongholds, the missions for them are all varied, so they don't feel like repetitive side tasks to accomplish, like taking over bases in Far Cry or something. For example, one of the Stronghold missions for the Westside Rollerz has you heading to one of their garages and destroying all their cars. One for Los Carnales has you cover up all the tags at their refinery while fighting off their members guarding the place. And another for the Vice Kings has you kill a bunch of them at a park, ascending up a building and then grabbing a sniper rifle to finish off the backup that arrives. Most of them aren't very long and don't feel repetitive either. And since they're mandatory and have you screwing up a gang's operation, I gotta wonder why they weren't just incorporated into the story instead. Maybe they were added late in development, like the devs realized the game was too short, and so added them in to pad out the game. It might explain why they don't have animated cutscenes, and are usually just Julius calling you up to give you an objective. Whatever the reason, once all the Strongholds are cleared, I can move on towards the final part of the game. First up, it's time to finish off Los Carnales.
Hey man, we don't got time. One of Troy's crew saw Angelo driving to the airport. We gotta stop his ass before he can skip town and rebuild.
Dex gets word that Angelo is planning to flee the country on his private jet, so the two of us will drive down there with Dex taking the wheel when we arrive at the airport. This is the exact same mission from True Crime Streets of LA, where I had to follow Rocky's jet and blow it up before it took off, except about 100 times harder. It'll start with Dex and I busting through the airport fence with some Carnales following behind us, and I'm given an AK-47 and rocket launcher with infinite ammo to assist. Once on the tarmac, Dex will drive around, giving us a few chances to take shots at the plane, but it's heavily guarded. Like, insanely so, as there are a bunch of Los Carnales goons spread out on the ground and on buildings, all of them using rocket launchers with some insane accuracy, and it only takes getting hit like twice to die and fail the mission. Since Dex is the one driving, you have no way of avoiding them or going straight for the plane, so your only chance is killing the gangbangers before they can hit you, which is insanely tough. Again, because Dex is driving and you have no way of aiming your shots better. I must have spent a solid hour on this one mission alone trying to figure out how to beat it. It basically boiled down to trial and error. Having to memorize the placements of each guy's firing rockets, trying my best to hit and kill them before they could hit us. Eventually I decided to ignore the cars following us and only use the AK-47. Its fast rate of fire made it much easier to actually kill them, and it's way more reliable at damaging the plane than the rockets. Blowing up the plane, we kill Angelo and bring an end to Los Carnales. And the following cutscene actually surprised me.
Oh my god!
What are you doing here?
I was supposed to leave with Angelo.
So what's in here? Guns? Money? Some uncut shit? Shoes?
Actually, they're this season's new.
Bullshit, that's last year's fall collection.
That's not true.
Just let it go, man. No reason to piss off Manuel. Let's get going.
Yeah, I had no idea my character spoke at all in this game. I thought he was just a silent mute until Saints Row 2. I think it's a fun little way to cap off the end of each storyline. Next up, time to get rid of Tanya and the Vice Kings. Teaming up with King and Johnny for this one, we won't be able to reach Tanya until we get the elevator code to the Vice King's penthouse. So first, we'll kidnap her fashion consultant and use some enhanced interrogation techniques to get the code from him, which involves King dangling him out the window as I drive around town, until he finally spills the goods. Then we'll storm the penthouse, fight off what's left of the Vice Kings, and ascend the elevator for a showdown with Tanya.
I'm gonna skull fuck that bitch.
Hope you don't mind hepatitis.
What?
Some guys just never get enough of me.
I've had more than my fill, bitch.
It's over, girl. You're not gonna be able to fuck your way out of this one.
That's cute, sweetie. That's just precious.
Please! Please don't!
Oh, Tanya, do yourself a favor and die with some dignity.
Damn, she ain't gonna be in Rush Hour 3. That was kind of anticlimactic. But the game already showed that Tanya was all talk, only getting to the top by sleeping around and not doing any actual work. So it's fitting that we kill her so easily. With Team Yellow defeated, that just leaves the Westside Rollerz. It starts with Price trying to run me over in a flatbed truck, before I have to hop in a car and chase after him before he gets away. This one is equally as tough as the Carnales final mission. As for one, Price's truck is insanely fast, despite carrying like 6 cars. And several Westside Rollerz will follow and try to stop me. So if they manage to slow me down, Price will get away. The only way to stop Price is destroying every car on the back of the truck before I can finally unload on the truck cab itself. But like the first mission involving the Westside Rollerz, juggling driving and shooting at him is still insanely hard. More so since I have to aim my shots at the cars on his truck. Eventually I decided to pick up a homie off the street as support, letting him focus on the Rollerz chasing us while I focused on Price. But finally, I put an end to Riddick and the rest of the Westside Rollerz.
That was a hell of an explosion. You okay, player?
I got run over by a motherfucking truck. What'd you think?
Oh, quit being a bitch. We didn't fuck the Rollerz hard. They ain't got nothing left. There are a few loose ends, though. Like, who the fuck those buyers are Sharp was talking about? I got a feeling some shit going on we don't know about. I'll catch you later at the church.
Completing each storyline will unlock the respective gang's headquarters as a new safe house, along with adding their personal rides to my garage. With that, the Saints are now completely in control of Stillwater, with no one left to challenge us. And as thanks for all our hard work, Julius promotes us to his right-hand man, and second in command of the Saints.
Just say the word.
And that was Saints Row. So what did I think? Well, wait, there's still more? Yep. Despite having conquered all the other gangs, we're not quite done yet, as we do have a brief epilogue to go through.
This is Chief Monroe. If you want Julius back, listen to what I've got to say.
We'll get a call from Police Chief Monroe, who fills us in that he has Julius in custody, and if we want him back, we'll have to do him a favor. Monroe was briefly mentioned here and there throughout the game, but this is the first time we actually hear from the guy. He wants us to kill the mayor of Stillwater, Marshall Winslow. I'll drive out to his campaign bus, kill his security detail, and then hijack his bus, before parking it on the train tracks and putting an end to his re-election campaign. Returning to the church to meet up with Dex and Johnny, Monroe refuses to free Julius, planning to use the Saints to do more dirty work for him. The guys aren't thrilled with that prospect, but are unsure of their options without risking Julius's freedom or his life. Johnny then gets the idea to just kill Monroe, ambushing him while he attends a funeral for the mayor. Meeting up at the agreed spot, we equipped a sniper rifle to try and snipe Monroe while he's in his cop car. But since we don't know which one is the right one, we axe the plan and just blow up everyone, running off to forgive and forget to escape the cops after us. I then receive a call from the newly appointed mayor, Richard Hughes, who was the person Chief Monroe was working for and who ordered the death of the previous mayor. He apologizes for Monroe's antics and wants to form a relationship with the Saints, inviting me to the fundraiser on his yacht, telling us Julius will be there to work out a deal. The game is effectively over at this point, as this last mission is really just a cutscene. Joining Richard Hughes on his yacht, he monologues about everything that happened in the game, the Saints, and his rise to power, and that, unsurprisingly, that his invitation was actually a trap, as he's about to have me killed. But my character isn't having any of it.
Champagne. As you get older, you quickly learn that there are only two types of people in this world. Race, money, gender, none of this matters. At the end of the day, you're either a winner or a loser. Now, the sad truth about our situation is that in order for me to be a winner, I have to level your neighborhood and salt the earth. Hold on for a moment. Stephen, could you come in here? Where was I? Oh yes, salting the earth. Now, I suppose I could try to pay you off, but really, what's the point? You just say no. Or in your case, stand there looking intimidating, and we'd be right back to where we started. So I figured I'd cut the middleman and get right to the point.
Yo, can you speed this shit up? I wanna go to Freckle Bitches.
You're going to die here, son. Make no mistake about that. But if it makes it any easier on you, I'll be sure to thank you in my acceptance speech. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a party to...
And that was Saints Row. Man, that ending felt kind of abrupt. So much to unpack here. First, Troy was apparently an undercover cop this entire time. This one really caught me off guard because it seemingly comes out of nowhere. But apparently the original instruction manual actually heavily hints that this is the case. And going through my footage for this video, I did find some subtle hints to this fact. First is way back at the beginning, when Troy refused to go after King. He doesn't really give a good reason why. But knowing that Benjamin King had it in good with the cops and Chief Monroe, it makes sense he wouldn't want to disrupt that relationship. Then there's the one mission where we raid the police station to take back the cartel's drugs. Troy immediately shoots down the idea of storming the station, and suggests blowing up the outside wall to the evidence locker instead. Being a cop himself, he'd want to avoid killing his fellow officers and would know exactly where the evidence locker was. I do still end up killing a lot of cops in this mission, but it's the thought that counts. It also explains how the Carnales who were at the docks got arrested, as the deal with the Colombians was supposed to be a secret. the Saints and Troy being the only ones who would have known about it otherwise. Then there's the time I'm acting as Tanya's chauffeur. It just so happens that it's Troy's men that end up attacking us. What if he was trying to get rid of us and stop our meddling with the Vice Kings? It's an interesting twist. It just feels awkward having it dropped on us literally at the end of the game before the credits, along with the game ending on a cliffhanger with a playable character supposedly being blown up. Who would do this? And why? I mean, it's extremely obvious it was Julius, but still, it feels very abrupt that he betrays us out of nowhere. And before anyone says it, yeah, I know it all gets explained in the next game, but imagine playing this game back on release when it was a new series. After all the stuff you did in-game, it knocked the wind out of you to see your character seemingly killed off and betrayed by his mentor. Volition must have been really confident that the game would get a sequel. Imagine it bombed sales-wise. All people would ever talk about when it came to this game would be its abrupt ending. Rewinding things back a bit, the epilogue feels really tacked on. It's maybe 20 minutes of content, with 2 missions revolving around characters we never saw up until this point. I could understand wanting to do a final mission after completing the 3 storylines, but these 2 missions are nothing compared to those finales, especially the Carnales ending. Doesn't help that we kill Monroe almost immediately after he shows up in the plot. And then the supposed true mastermind, Richard Hughes, shows up, but he doesn't do anything before biting it too. I guess you could call it a parody of the whole secret villain, man behind the man trope, but I don't know, it doesn't really do it for me. Weak ending aside, what did I think of the rest of the game? Well, I'll be honest, I was pleasantly surprised by how good the game was, and how much I enjoyed myself. Like I brought up at the beginning, I'm a fairly new Saints Row fan, and this was my first time experiencing the game. I didn't have any real expectations, to be honest, especially since most conversations about which game is best in the series usually revolves around 2 or 3. But I think Volition knocked it out of the park with their first go-around, and did a solid job making a game that wasn't just another GTA clone. It leans heavily into the gang aspect that San Andreas had, but made it the focal point of the game and really fleshed it out. Your homies are actually useful in a fight, and even if you don't recruit them into your party, any stray Saints in the area will back you up if you're fighting a rival gang or the cops. Taking over territory isn't the same repetitive wave encounter that it was in San Andreas. Each area gives you a different objective to complete and win the turf, and thankfully you only have to protect your territory once after capturing it, and the game doesn't force you to stop everything to go save it. You can focus on the story or side activities and get around to defending it when you feel like it. I know some of this can be attributed to the Xbox Series X, but the graphics are pretty solid, with characters that actually have faces that emote, with some nice detail on their clothing and general appearance. The colors are vibrant, really letting Stillwater pop and stand out. Something so refreshing to see from the brown era of gaming. Though I guess it did come out early in that generation, before brown became the trend for realistic graphics. I think it had a novel approach to its mission design, letting you tackle the storylines in whatever order you want. Unfortunately, that freedom is completely undermined by the need to grind for respect. I won't rehash what I said earlier, but having to stop to grind respect after every story mission really dragged down the experience, and just feels like it exists to pad out the game's runtime. I also hate the game's day and night cycle. I know it exists because of realism or whatever, but having all the stores close at night was a really stupid idea. There were too many times where I had to wait around or kill time with a side activity, just so I could go buy ammo to use for a story mission. It wouldn't be so bad if you could skip ahead a few hours by saving or something, but outside of using a cheat on your phone, you're stuck waiting till morning to go buy a new gun or more ammo. I think the story is fine. It's not groundbreaking stuff, but the simple goal of leading your gang to beat the other gangs in the city works. It's grounded and doesn't really go off the rails. Nothing wacky like fighting clones or aliens that detract from the gang experience. The characters also work. Like the story, they're all fairly grounded. The Saints are different enough from each other that you get a decent understanding of who they are and how they think. I'd say the only one who might fall a bit flat is Troy, but considering he's just a cop pretending to be a gangbanger, that might be why. My only last gripe is just the game's lack of a checkpoint system. Most missions are short enough it's not needed, but the longer ones, especially those final missions, feel brutal without a checkpoint, really making you feel it each time you have to restart a mission. To sum up my thoughts, Saints Row was a pleasant surprise. A game that instead of trying to be just another GTA clone, actually went out of its way to improve on the formula, fleshing out ideas and adding quality of life features to the genre. that enhances the experience, and that no doubt ended up influencing its main competitor. It certainly takes a hit due to its lower amount of story missions and padded out runtime due to its grind, but it was a solid beginning to the franchise, one that its sequel would follow up on and improve upon all its mistakes, with Saints Row 2 becoming what a good chunk of the fanbase still consider the best in the series. But we'll talk about that game some other time. And that's the video. Thanks for watching, guys. Well, this certainly turned out longer than expected. Despite being shorter than my usual games, I'm surprised at how much I had to say about the original Saints Row. I'm really glad I got to experience it for the first time. Definitely feels like I missed out as a kid. I'm eager to hear what everyone thinks about the game and if you guys want me to continue with the series in the future, especially Saints Row 2 and 3. I'm going to be grinding a bit this month, so I'm hoping to get 3 videos out for March. Thankfully, I'm taking a week off to celebrate my birthday, so that should give me some decent time to work on videos. I also might do the occasional short here and there to help with the engagement on the channel. I promise it won't be a regular thing, so my channel won't be flooded with low-effort 30-second videos. Next time, we're going back to the PS2 and taking a look at The Godfather, the game. Should be a lot of fun. Again, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and comment down below. Have you played the original Saints Row? Which is your favorite in the series? And if you're new to my channel, I would appreciate it if you subscribed. I'm FuzzySlippers, and I'll see you later. Peace.